Standing 2023. And so this is like a press conference, no? We would like to acknowledge the presence of friends who are in Zoom right now and our media friends also who are in Zoom. At the same time, we would like to thank our media friends who are here who are covering this event. And I hope this will be disseminated to other people as well. So without further ado, let me call on the President of the Association for Philippine-China Understanding, or APCU, Mr. Sixto Benedicto, to deliver the welcome remarks. Sir?
Thank you, Professor Ana. Pleasant morning to all. To APCU Board of Trustees, Awards for Promoting Philippine-China Understanding 2023 Committee, to Counsellor Lingpeng, Counselor of Media and Public Relations of the Chinese Embassy in Manila, media friends, ladies and gentlemen, the awards for promoting Philippine-China Understanding, APPCU for short, was established as a joint effort of the Association for Philippine-China Understanding and the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the Republic of the Philippines. APCU is a pioneer, friendship and leading NGO in the Philippines in promoting diplomatic people-to-people relation between the Philippines and China. APPCU aims to encourage more people to join the efforts of promoting China-Philippines friendship, strengthening mutual understanding to overcome differences between the two countries, and most especially, pay tribute to exceptional individuals who made relevant contribution in enhancing mutual relations and nourishing the friendship between the two people, Chinese and Filipinos. APPCU is an annual undertaking and each year there will be 10 APPCU laureates. Those who are eligible for the awards are Filipino citizens who have committed themselves to the improvement and advancement of Philippine-China bilateral relations, mutual understanding and friendship, using their fields of disciplines and areas of expertise in media and journalism, public service, humanitarian and social actions, commercial and trade, arts and culture, people-to-people relation, the academe, information and communication technology, science, health, and medicine. APPCU has 3 award categories. They are, number 1, Hall of Fame. This is the category for those who work comprehensively for a long time and have accomplished and done so much in promoting and strengthening Philippine-China and bilateral relations, friendship, cooperation, and understanding at all levels possible. For instance, at the state-to-state and people-to-people level, and in many areas and sectors. Those people belonging to this category enjoy wide popularity among the Filipino people. Number 2, outstanding contribution. This is the category for those who may come from various different backgrounds and fields, sectors, discipline, areas of competencies, who are not only quite popular or known already among the Filipino people, but made significant contributions and effort in promoting and strengthening Philippines-China bilateral relations, friendship, cooperation, and understanding. A third is major contribution. This is the category for those who may come from various different background and fields, sectors, discipline areas of competencies who are not popular among the Filipino people but made significant contribution and effort in promoting and strengthening Philippine-China bilateral relations, friendship, cooperation, and understanding at the grassroots or local level. All APPCU nominees undergo 3 rounds of the selection process. Namely, the first round is preliminary or the elimination round, second round of judging, and the third and final round. The 10 awardees for the 2023 will be given recognition in a formal ceremony on June 2023. The exact date will be announced later. The award for Promoting Philippine-China Understanding, or APPCU, is in many ways also commemorating of the Filipino-Chinese Friendship Day, and that day when the formal diplomatic ties and relations were established between the Republic of the Philippines and the People's Republic of China on June 9, 1975. On this note, may we all be infused with vigorous passion as we take on a greater role in communal task of promoting Philippines-China mutual understanding and friendship. Thank you, friends, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, a pleasant morning to all. Thank you and Godspeed.
Thank you, APCO President Noy, for that very warm opening remarks. The next part of our program is a message coming from Mr. G. Lingpeng, Counsellor of the Media Public Relation of the Chinese Embassy in Manila. Sir?
Thank you, Anna. Honorable APCU President Sixto Benedicto, Honorable APCU Executive Vice President, APPCU 2023 Official Spokesperson Peter Lavina, my dear friends, Mr. Banlaoi, Professor Banlaoi, and Mr. Herman, Mr. Wilson Lee Flores, and Honorable APPCU 2021 to 2022 laureates, dear media friends, good morning. It is a pleasure for me to participate in this event. It is the fourth day of the Chinese New Year today. On behalf of Ambassador Huang Xilian and the Chinese Embassy, I would like to extend Chinese New Year greetings to you all. I would take this opportunity to congratulate on the newly elected APPCU Board of Trustees, and fully believe that you would spare no efforts to promote mutual understanding between China and the Philippines as your prior board members. I would also say thank you to all the media friends who made our two peoples know better about each other and made great contributions to promote the development of our bilateral relations. Since the launch of the APPCU, members of the board and the committee behind the APPCU have endeavored to nominate and award well-deserving individuals for their efforts and contributions in fostering and promoting understanding, appreciation, and the reinforcement of amity between China and the Philippines. Over the past 2 years, 20 laureates from political, business, and cultural arenas have been honored with this award. Last year, the unprecedented presence of President Marcos, former President Estrada, and former President GMA at the awarding ceremony pushed APPCU to a new high. Besides, APCU and the previous APCU and the previous laureates have made great efforts relentlessly to participate in a series of webinars, forums, conferences, interviews, programs, publications, and so on. So my deep thanks to go to everyone engaged in the cause and help make this happen. The Chinese Embassy always attaches great importance to APPCU, which pays tribute to those who have made their contributions to promoting mutual understanding and friendship between our two countries. The award is also designed to meet the reality of our bilateral relations. Under the strategic guidance of our presidents, the bilateral relations between China and the Philippines have entered a new golden era and established a comprehensive strategic cooperative relationship. It has delivered tangible benefits to the people of both countries and injected positive energy into stability of our region. during President Marcos Jr.'s recent state visit to China, President Xi Jinping and he identified people-to-people exchanges as one of the 4 priority areas of cooperation between our two countries. PBBM also agreed that more people-to-people exchanges will take place to lay a more solid foundation for the long-term development of bilateral relations. As you may know, yesterday I went to the airport to join because the Ambassador Huang Xilian and the Secretary of the Ministry of Tourism to welcome the first batch of Chinese tourists in group tours to the Philippines since the pandemic broke out. This is the first concrete step to implement the important consensus reached by the two presidents. We are confident that APPCU 2023 will also play an even bigger and more significant role in boosting mutual trust and reduce the risk of misunderstandings. Today, as we launch APPCU 2023 and the call of nominations, we are expecting more nominations of Filipinos from all walks of life who have made efforts through time to strengthen friendly ties and promote mutual understanding between China and the Philippines. We hope to nominate people who use their respective advocacies and expertise in the various fields and disciplines of mass media and public service, trade and commerce, and arts, cultural, and sciences. The nominations are now open, and we are eagerly waiting for your participation. Thank you. Mabuhay.
Thank you, Councillor G, for that very wonderful message. Before we call on the next person to speak, let me acknowledge the presence of Dr. Lourdes Nepomuceno via Zoom. She's attending. She's one of our laureates. And also, let me acknowledge as well the presence of Mr. Paglinawan, and also one of our laureates, and one of our APCO officials, Mr. Kua, is also here. The APPCU is a joint project of the Chinese Embassy in Manila and the Association for Philippine-China Understanding. So let me go to the next speaker. Our next speaker will actually be reading the press release of APPCU 2023, and that's no other than Mr. Peter Lavina, the APCO Executive Vice President, and also the official spokesperson of APPCU 2023. He was actually the spokesperson of APPCU 2021 and 2022, and now 2023 as well. Sir?
Thank you, Anna. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for coming to the launching of our 2023 APCO Awards. Allow me to read our official press release, copies of which will be distributed after. These are the salient points in the press release. Many have already been pointed out by both President Noy and Councillor G. Anyway, these are the contents. After the successful conduct of the award for promoting Philippine-China understanding for the past 2 years, the Association for Philippines-China Understanding and the Embassy of the People's Republic of China in the Philippines, here in Manila, are pleased and delighted to announce the call for nominations for the APCU 2023. APCU is the pioneer and leading non-government organization in the Philippines in promoting people-to-people diplomacy, bilateral understanding, and friendship between the Philippines and China. The call for nomination has been open since last week, although this is our formal press launching, and we will close this nomination on the 17th of March, which means we will have 2 months to receive nominations. We will receive up to 5 p.m. Philippine Standard Time. Thereafter, we will proceed with the review of all the nominees, and we will hold 3 rounds of eliminations, no? March up to April 2023. The announcement of the 2023 winners will be held on the second week of May. And the official award ceremony will be in time with the celebration of our Philippines-China Friendship Week around the June 9, 1975 anniversary of the formal establishment of diplomatic ties between our two countries. APCU promotes the spirit of friendship and understanding between our two countries. It aims to extend recognition, acknowledgement, and appreciation to individuals who made a mark and contributed much to the improvement and advancement of Philippine-China bilateral relations, understanding, and friendship, using respective endeavors in different fields and disciplines such as media and journalism, public service, humanitarian and social action, commerce and trade, arts and culture, people-to-people relations, the academe, information and communication technology, science, health, and medicines. As you will note, friends from the media, present in our lounge today are some of our laureates in various fields. Dr. Banlaoi represents the academe. You know? Our host, Wilson and Kamentong and Sol Ado represents more or less the media. No? So we welcome nominations this year, hopefully from all walks of life, as Councillor G has mentioned. So we call on our friends in the media to help us disseminate this call for nominations. Thank you and good morning.
Thank you, Sir Peter Lavina, for reading and explaining more the awards for promoting Philippine-China understanding for this year. Before I proceed, let me acknowledge as well Manila Times as the official media partner of this event. No? We are live stream in Manila Times social media platforms, and also we're live stream in other platforms, media platforms. Thank you, Manila Times, for being supportive as always. The next part of our program, may I call on Dr. Rommel Banlaoi to share a message as one of the laureates. Actually, Dr. Banlaoi is one of the most outstanding laureate under outstanding contribution, no, of 2021, which actually a pioneering laureate of the awards. Dr. Banlaoi, please.
Good morning to all and media friends and to our friends also from the embassy, especially Dr. Lingpeng. Good morning to all and my fellow laureates and officers from APCU. Good morning. I'm truly honored to be one of the awardees of the award for the promotion of Philippines-China understanding. It gives me really a lot of honor, but more than an honor, it's really a commitment to further promote Philippines-China understanding. And that is the reason why President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. visited China 2 weeks ago in order to promote Philippines-China relations and move this relationship to a higher gear. So let me say a few words. Marcos is laying all the building blocks to elevate Philippines-China relations to a higher plane. And for me, this is very important, especially in the context of Philippine participation in the Belt and Road Initiative. Philippine participation in China's Belt and Road Initiative is very logical because the Philippines, since the ancient times, has always been an integral part of China's maritime trade activities in Southeast Asia as a permanent neighbor and an ancient friend. Before the Spanish colonial rule of the archipelago, the Chinese and Filipino inhabitants of the various kingdoms of pre-Hispanic Philippines enjoyed generally peaceful and friendly relations for more than a millennium. The Chinese and pre-colonial Filipinos liked each other and they had close, mutually beneficial, and reciprocal ties. Documented bilateral relations date back many centuries and were built through extensive commercial, social, and cultural interactions. Ancient inhabitants of Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao of the Philippines participated in what we call then as non-high trade. And this non-high trade was recorded between the 9th and 16th centuries. Okay? And the non-high trade was the ancient counterpart of China's maritime Silk Road. Okay? And the non-high trade was the ancient commercial networks between Chinese and Southeast Asian traders. China's Tang Dynasty, okay, between 618 to 907 AD, left behind valuable ancient records of Chinese trading activities with people of Butuan, Manila, Batangas, Laguna, and among others. In fact, the Kingdom of Butuan was the archipelago's main trading post with records of commercial activities beginning in the 19th century, while Mai, then known as Mindoro, but recent scholars call it Laguna, also served as a trading center with recorded activities in the 10th century. Eventually, the Sultanate of Sulu, the Kingdom of Manila, and the Kingdom in Pangasinan became active activities in China's Fujian and Guangdong provinces, and those activities were recorded between 11th and 15th centuries. So, historical factors and geographic proximity deeply connect the Chinese and Filipinos. This extensive shared history has resulted in the formation of intricate social relationship, cultural familiarities between the two peoples, and this can facilitate the development of shared future. And I'd like to stress this. We shared fruitful past for more than a millennium, and therefore we have the stronger basis to share our common future. Okay? And we can share this common future despite our existing differences in the South China Sea. In fact, if you will look deeply into the issue of the South China Sea, our differences are not irreconcilable. In fact, we can find common ground in order to promote cooperation in the South China Sea. And we can cooperate in various fields like marine scientific research, marine environmental protection, search and rescue operation, combating transnational crimes, and even cooperation on the development of natural gas and oil. In other words, we have a lot of things to share. We share the past, and therefore we can share the future. And this award for the promotion of Philippines-China understanding will be a great help to further promote greater relationship not only between our two governments but also among our people. Thank you very much and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Banlaoi, for that very inspiring message. Let me call on Mr. Herman Laurel, also one of our laureates, to share with us his message for APPCU 2023.
Ang APPCU Awards ay nagsimula po noong 2001. I will now speak in English. No? The APCU Awards started in 2001 and has become a smashing success in projecting the message that there are many working for greater understanding between the Philippines and China and overcoming the misunderstanding that are created by certain sectors in our society. This award has been evolving over the past 2 years, and last year a new category was introduced, and that is the Paduka Batara Awards, posthumous award, particularly for Ambassador Chito Santormana, who passed away last year. I think this year there will be another nominee or some other nominees for that award. And it brings me to this other point that maybe we should also bring in the APCU Awards to come, a historical award for personages in our history, 100, 200, 1,000 years ago, that have helped in the promotion of Philippine-China understanding, trade, commerce, and cooperation. For example, we can think of some names like Mariano Ponce, who worked with Sun Yat-sen to try to help the Philippine Revolution. And Sun Yat-sen worked with Mariano Ponce to try to supply the arms, mga baril, para sa Katipunan. So magandang mapaalala, it would be very good to remind the nation of this historical friendship and cooperation and understanding. Hindi lang po yan. Not only that, In the Second World War, there was the Huachi detachment that worked with our anti-Japanese forces in the Philippines. Ano, posthumous awards to possible nominees later on, like Luis Tarok, who worked with Huachi. So over the years, there are hundreds of people who have worked for Philippine-China understanding. So anyway, I put that on the table as a suggestion for coming APCU awards. I don't know if that can be brought up still in this year's awards, but certainly next year I will try to push that. So my point is Philippine-China cooperation and understanding stretches, as Rommel Banlaoi has explained, over the hundreds and over 1,000 years too. And how do we award those who have passed on? We award it to the family to remind the nation that families over the years have been very helpful in Philippine-China understanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Laurel. The last but not the least to share a message for APPCU 2023 is our host, no? Here in Kamuning Bakery Cafe, and also the host always of Pandesal Forum. That's no other than Mr. Wilson Flores. Wilson?
Thank you very much, Anna. And good morning to all the panelists here, Councillor G, Mr. Benedicto, Mr. Laurel, Professor Dr. Banlaoi, and most especially our media friends. This APPCU award is very significant because we want to help highlight and honor good people in Councillor G is very correct. This is not only for government officials, not only for diplomats, but for people from different professions, different industries who are promoting friendship and understanding between our two countries. It is very good timing because the economy of the world, the economy of China and the Philippines are opening. So this is a good way to celebrate a return of life. And I agree with Mr. Laurel saying history we should not forget. Yesterday, there was APCU induction of officers in Congress. And then on the way out, we passed by the office of Speaker Martin Romualdez. And in passing, he mentioned his late father. His late father was, I asked him, I said, Speaker, is it true your father was the first Philippine ambassador to Beijing? He said, yes, my late father, Coco Romualdez, was the first Philippine ambassador to Beijing. But more important than that, he told us something very interesting I've never heard about. He said people did not know before Imelda Marcos and 17-year-old Bongbong Marcos made this very famous 1974 trip to Beijing to meet Chairman Mao and other leaders of China. It was his late father, the younger sister of then First Lady Imelda Marcos, Cocoy Romualdez, the younger brother, was sent on a special secret trip. He went on a secret trip to go to Beijing. Nobody knew about it because that was the height of the Cold War in 1974. The West and other countries have not opened ties to China yet. And there were many forces, he said, the Speaker Martin said, there were many conservative right-wing forces in the Philippines then, very anti-China, more than they are now. And they were very unhappy about rumors saying that President Marcos is going to send someone to Beijing. And nobody knew now. His father made a secret trip to lay the groundwork for the Imelda Marcos visit. And he had to go through Hong Kong, and from Hong Kong went secretly to China. And Coco Romualdez, the younger brother of Imelda Marcos, during that secret trip, met Chairman Mao, met Premier Zhou Enlai. They even met the very famous military leader Chu Te and also Deng Xiaoping. And after that series of secret meetings, he went back and then they prepared the trip of Imelda Marcos and Bongbong Marcos. And he said not many people knew about it, and even now. And he still remembers he was still a grade school student. And the father, before making the secret trip, told the son, I want to tell you I'm going on a secret trip. Maybe something happens, I might not be able to come. At least you will know. And he could not forget it. I think that is one person in the future that we could even nominate posthumously. There are many good people who want to promote Philippine-China relationship, not only because it is good for the Philippines economically, not only because it is good for Philippines' strategic national interest to be friends with everyone and have no enemies, but more than economics and geopolitics, Philippines and China are really old friends. Before the colonizers came to the Philippines, the Chinese were already coming to the Philippines to trade. And for more than 1,000 uninterrupted years. So this APPCU award is a good way to celebrate this friendship. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wilson Flores, for that very, actually sharing some of the anecdotes that we encountered during our visit in the office of the House Speaker yesterday after our induction of APCO officers. Now, we open the floor for some questions, no? Yes, sir, please.
Hi. Good morning. Hello. Good morning po. I'm Nestor Cuartero. I'm with Manila Bulletin and Tempo. Maybe it is good to update us on what happened last year during the awarding ceremony, and maybe an update also on how the award, what the awardees are, the laureates are doing to further enhance the relationship between China and the Philippines. Maybe an update on what transpired.
Okay, thank you, sir, for that question. Let me respond to the question first, okay? Since I'm the one on top of everything when you talk about organizing this event as well, in coordination with the Award for Promoting Philippine-China Understanding Committee, and at the same time in coordination, of course, with the Chinese Embassy in Manila. So the last year, we have 10 awardees from different sectors and from different fields. But actually, last year, it was also the first time that we had what you call award, Sultan Paduka Pahala Award. So, and that was given to our former ambassador to China, Chito Santa Romana. And also, during that time, we had an awarding ceremony, and it was attended actually by no other than the president of the country at the moment, no? President Ferdinand Marcos, and it was also attended by many officials in government. When you talk about the laureates, 2021 laureates, 2022, and hopefully this 2023, in terms of activities, I think it would be good and nice to hear it from themselves. So let me call on Professor Banlaoi to actually share with the audience what are you doing at the moment being a laureate in promoting Philippine-China understanding, then followed by Mr. Wilson Flores, Mr. Herman Laurel, and of course, Mr. Kaado Paglinawan. One of our laureates is actually in Zoom right now, but I don't think we have the mechanism to ask her. But it's Dr. Lourdes Nepomuceno is the head of the Filipino counterpart, but the head of the Confucius Institute in UP Diliman, no? And yes, Professor Banlaoi?
Thank you very much, Anna. Because I represent the academe, so many of my work pertains to academic activities. So one of the results of the award is my effort to establish the first and only China Studies Center at New Era University. So we will be launching the China Studies Center next month, okay? And we expect the two ambassadors to grace the occasions. And as a former president of the Philippine Association for China Studies, I'm also linking the China Studies Center in New Era University with the Chinese Studies program of Ateneo de Manila University. And do you know that the Chinese Studies program in Ateneo de Manila University existed for 35 years. And it took another 35 years for New Era University to establish another China Studies Center, the second one in the Philippines. So, and we intend to create more China Studies centers in major universities in the Philippines. And as a laureate, one of the laureates, I am now doing a research on uh, the past, the history of the history of the relationship between Chinese and Filipinos, and how this historical relationship can affect the current state of Philippines-China relations and the future directions of Philippines-China relations. And if you are aware of many of my media interviews and analysis and op-eds, I have been writing about Philippines-China relationship and how to strengthen Philippines-China relationship with note that China is our permanent neighbor, so it is also in our permanent interest to be the permanent friend of China. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Banlaoi. And let us hear from Mr. Wilson Flores.
Thank you very much. Very nice what Professor Banlawi just said. China is our permanent neighbor. I just like to add that I remember there's a Bible verse and a Filipino proverb, even a Chinese proverb, which says the neighbor is more important than a very far away relative. A neighbor. So China is very important to us because we are good neighbors. On the question of Professor Nestor Cuartero about what happened last year, it was quite memorable. I could not forget, not only with the presence of the newly elected president before his inauguration, President Bongbong Marcos, he also was accompanied by First Lady Liza Marcos. And it wasn't only presence of one president, but also former President Joseph Estrada was there. It was very interesting.
Former President GMA as well.
Yes, former President Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was three presidents of the Philippines. And what I think most of the people are doing, the awardees, in various fields, every one of us are trying to help the Philippine society remember that Philippines and China are friends. We have no competition directly. In fact, economically, Philippines and China economy are not even competitors. We are actually complementary in stages of development. What else do we... you were asking what we were doing, we are doing. I've been invited also to be chairman of the Public Information Committee of FFCCCII through this private group, Federation of Filipino Chinese Chamber of Commerce. I've also tried to help propagate good and real news about what's happening between Philippines and China, because many of the private sector people are concerned about good relations. We look forward to good and stable relationship. We don't want too many politics, too much negative politics, endangering our good relationship. I remember a few weeks ago, Anna was here. Anna and Jed Rabena said that what can endanger good relationship is too much negative politicking. I think that is what is tragic about our democracy is very much too free. Many of the good things in our country, the economy, have been endangered sometimes by politics. So we are trying to promote more friendship by sharing more good news. Like 2 weeks ago, here, we invited a group of durian farmers and durian exporters to fly over from Davao to come here in this, on this stage to talk about the good news of durian diplomacy. For the first time in history, Philippines can export directly durian to China. Thailand exports $4 billion of durian a year, Philippines before zero. This year, they said more than $200 million now.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Wilson Flores. And let me call on Kado. Can you possibly share the things that you're doing at the moment in promoting Philippine-China relations, since you are one of the laureates? 2021 laureates, actually.
Good morning to all.
Brief.
Well, coincidentally, I was appointed, besides being a laureate, to be chairman of the APPCU Institute. And I have delineated 4 disciplines in which the Institute will collaborate and network with other institutes to promote Philippine-China understanding, as well as clarify Philippine-China misunderstanding. The first is with the Asian Century Policy Studies of Kamentong in the aspect of policy. The second aspect is in the aspect of language and heritage. In terms of language, part of the disadvantage of the Philippines in competing for the attention of the Chinese is our lack of Mandarin-speaking people. And so we are brainstorming with Confucius Institute on how to increase the 6 institutes we have now in the country to maybe up to 50 in 5 years, so that we can have anywhere between 5 million to 10 million Mandarin-speaking people in this country for a start. That is, in so far as language is concerned, the biggest bridge between 2 cultures. In terms of heritage, we would like to collaborate with Pamanlahi, another institute, in a study of Mindoro, its place in the history of Philippines and China, and Taal, which has become the center of anti-Sinocism, this hate Chinese in our history. And so we would like to go to the past to clarify certain issues in our history, as well as partner with China on the third aspect of investments, trade, and tourism. In this third aspect, we have chosen a community-based entity, which is the Sultanate of Sulu, which is primordial in the history, formed with the old Silk Road in the 1400s, and rebuild it into a matter of investments, trade, and tourism, because Sulu is one of the poorest of the poor provinces in this country. So the historical link is there, and the need is there too. Hopefully, we hope to study the aspect of how to seed a fishing industry for the people of Sulu Archipelago. on a community basis. Trade, there is so much to talk. Wilson talked about durian. I don't know if you know that before Davao, Sulu was the California of the Philippines, the fruit basket of Mindanao. And one of the aspects is durian also. In terms of tourism, Sulu is now zero kidnapping for the past year. And so the tourist spots in Sulu and as well as in the Tawi-Tawi area are blossoming and are ready for takeoff, and it needs attention by one of the biggest Chinese tourism markets, which are the Chinese. The last aspect, the fourth aspect, is the aspect of traditional Chinese medicine. There are many practitioners connected with another institute. This is the Philippine Institute of Health and Alternative Healthcare that is very much interested in promoting, especially for the poor of this country, a wide and very aggressive practice of traditional Chinese medicine because Western medicine has become very expensive. So these are the areas that I am pulling right now. And I guess we will use many of the APCU laureates to help us in this endeavor. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you very much, Kaado. And one of the laureates that will also would want to share, no, what she's doing as a awardee of APPCU is Dr. Lourdes Nepomuceno, the director of Confucius Institute in UP Diliman. Ma'am, you can speak, and I'll put you on mic.
You hear me?
We can hear you clearly, ma'am. You can start.
Okay. Okay. As one of the 2021 laureates, APCU laureates, my commitment to propagate the seeds of harmony between China and the Philippines is constant. Okay?
Speak, ma'am.
My capacity as the director of Confucius Institute, 2009. As you all know, I've been part of two Confucius Institutes in the Philippines. I co-established the Confucius Institute at Angeles University Foundation and the Confucius Institute at the University of the Philippines. These are two different entities. It is actually more challenging the Confucius Institute at the University of the Philippines. But I continuously add vigor to the great purpose of Chinese language and education and remain at the forefront of educational and cultural diplomacy. I just recently came from the US and I was invited by University of Hawaii, Manoa. And as you all know, the Confucius Institutes in the United States were recently closed. There were 180 Confucius Institutes in the United States, but more than 100 closed because of politics. And they asked me why the Confucius Institutes in the Philippines are thriving. And I said, you know, it is how you handle the pressures from the government and people that are anti-China. So here at the Confucius Institute in UP, we always tell them that we are not dwelling on the political side of matters. What we are doing is promoting Chinese language and culture through education and arts. So what we did, we penetrated the private and public sectors in the Philippines. As you all know, we connected with the key government agencies such as the Bureau of Immigration. We have 3 classrooms at NAIA 3. And now, Commissioner Tansinko asked me to develop a program to cover all provinces, all NAIA, all airports in different provinces, which we are doing right now. And then we also concentrated on the business sector. We are partners of the PCCI, Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to touch the business sector. And tourism, we are partners of Clark Development Corporation and Subic, because in Subic, before, pre-COVID, they had cruise ships that are coming in carrying Chinese tourists. What we did, we taught the Subic personnel the language that they need in order to communicate and welcome the Chinese tourists then. Now we are actually continuously telling people, Filipino people, that Confucius Institutes are not Chinese propaganda wrapped in culture and language education. We want to prove that to them. And of course, it is one of China's soft power initiatives, but what we do here is continuously propagating the sense of harmony through education and culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lu, for that enlightening sharing of what you're doing, no, as a laureate and at the same time as a director of Confucius Institute in UP Diliman. Last but not the least, let me call on Mr. Herman Laurel to share with us briefly what he's doing as a laureate. Thank you.
I will share instead one of the other laureates who is right now in Iloilo, si Celso Cainglet, who has sent a suggestion about a festival in Iloilo, the Dinagyang Festival. And he says, Dinagyang is a retracing of the roots of the Ilonggo Nation. May malaking kulang. Kasi puro indigenous tribes hypes lang. Just a wishful thinking, Iloilo was practically built by the Filipino and Chinese community. I wish in the future, Dinagyangs, there will be a special feature on the very important role of the Filipino and the Chinese in building Iloilo. So, our 20 laureates are all very, very active in promoting these projects that will promote understanding of each other's culture, people-to-people relations, and so on. I can read others, but I think that gives you an idea of what our 20 laureates already and more to come this year will be doing to help the nation, the Philippines, the two nations, the Philippines and China, come closer and closer together, which becomes more and more important as the years go by. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Laurel and Mr. Celso Cainglet, who's one of the laureate last year under major contribution category. One more question before, yes, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Biabi from DZXL RMN Manila. I'd like to veer away from the topic about, I'd like to ask questions on one of the headlines in today's newspaper regarding the joint patrol of U.S. and the Philippine Coast Guard in the West Philippine Sea. At since we're warming up, Philippines is warming up its relationship with China. Ano ang tingin dito ni Professor Rommel Banlaoi dito sa issue na ito ng joint patrol, and at the same time, what is the take of Professor Herman Mentong Laurel on this issue, particularly its impact on the warming up of relationship with the China at present? Thank you for the question. If you will look deeply into the issue, the proposal for a joint Philippines-U.S. patrol in the South China Sea is no longer new. It was in fact proposed as early as 2016 during the time of President Duterte. But President Duterte opposed the idea because he said you're steering trouble, not only in the region but also with China. So, and maybe now, because of the warming up of relationship between U.S. and the Philippines as a result of President Marcos' visit to New York City last year. So the United States is reviving the issue of having a joint patrol in the context of its proposal to expand the coverage of Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement by asking 5 additional locations for American military facilities to be constructed in Philippine bases. So that's one. But you know, we are not only talking about joint maritime patrols with the United States, we're also talking with Vietnam. We're also talking with France. And if you will look at the current practices, we now have existing joint patrol activities with Indonesia and Malaysia in the Sulu Seas. So it's a practice of sovereign states to really have joint patrol. But when it comes to joint patrol with the United States, we have to be cautious of its intention because we might be getting unnecessary reactions from our neighbors, not only China, but also around the littoral states of the South China Sea. So if we can explore the possibility of having joint patrol with the United States, we can also explore the possibility of having joint patrol with China. In fact, during the last meeting of the bilateral consultative mechanism in the South China Sea, during the 6th meeting, we also explored the possibility of having joint patrol. But you know, in the academe, we have differences of definitions when it comes to joint patrols. Are we talking about coordinated patrol or joint patrol? But I think now the thing that we can implement now can be coordinated patrol with neighbors. But with the United States, then we need to understand the legal framework. Okay, what will be the legal framework? Because under international law, there's a concept of joint freedom of navigation patrol. Are we pursuing that kind of joint patrol activities? And then what kind of joint patrol activities are we going to undertake with the United States? And will that joint patrol activities be the same or different from what we are proposing to France, to Vietnam, and also current existing practices among the 3 littoral states of the Sulu Sea, Indonesia, Malaysia, and the Philippines? So if you talk about joint patrols, we already have exemplary practice, and that is with Malaysia and Indonesia in the Sulu Seas, and it yielded positive results by preventing violent activities in the Sulu Seas. So we can also explore that possibility with the United States, but not limited with the United States. Let's also open the possibility with other interested states in Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Banlaoi. And yes, Mr. Herman Laurel, any response as
I will be
requested?
guided by the recent statements of President Bongbong Marcos during his visit to Davos at the World Economic Forum. And there are 2 points. Number one, President Bongbong Marcos stated that the Asia-Pacific nations should deal with its problems as Asia-Pacific nations. Now, I don't know if the U.S. is an Asia-Pacific nation. It is a Pacific nation up to Western Pacific, but I think it is arguable that they are not part of the Asian community, more especially the littoral states community of the South China Sea. So the second point is President Bongbong Marcos also reiterated at the Davos interviews that he is not for a Cold War mentality. I think this is one of the main issues that has been at the center of the delays on the Code of Conduct for the South China Sea. The insistence of some parties that the external countries from the West, such as America, France, and the others, get involved in the South China Sea. The principle of freedom of navigation, the principle of the seas being part of mankind's heredity is based on trade. And I think military and police ships are not necessarily part of that principle of Grotius. No, that these are all the seas are part of the human inheritance. So I think the third point that is important to make here is that these underlings of the president making statements in public and not allowing the president to craft and fashion the Philippines' foreign policy. We can see President Marcos's statements being contradicted or being superseded by public comments of underlings like Ambassador Romualdez, the Philippine ambassador to the United States. I think they should give that power and that right to make public statements only to the president when it comes to foreign relations and foreign policy. So I think this Ambassador Romualdez has been in a habit of preempting the president from making or taking positions on these issues.
Okay, thank you. Before we end the press conference, are there any more questions so far? Last question, if there's none, then we will end the media forum, no? Because this is just a short event. If there's no question anymore. Okay? So let me thank everyone, our friends from different media outlets for coming and for gracing the occasion. And thank you so much as well to our distinguished speakers, starting from Mr. Herman Laurel, one of our APPCU laureate, Mr. Wilson Flores, also one of our APPCU laureates last year, actually. Counsellor G for coming, thank you very much. Our APCO president at the same time co-chairperson of the APPCU committee, Mr. Sixto Benedicto, sir, thank you. Dr. Banlaoi, one of our APPCU laureates 2021, thank you for coming. And of course, our spokesperson for APPCU 2023 and the APCO Executive Vice President, Sir Peter Lavina, thank you, sir, for coming. Thank you, media, for being gracious and for attending this forum. To our friends in Zoom as well, thank you very much for attending. To our official media partner for this event, Manila Times, thank you very much, as always, for being supportive to us. Thank you, Ms. Blanca. Thank you very much. Thank you, Klink, for being supportive, the CEO and owner of TMT, Manila Times. Thank you so much, and good morning to everyone. Thank you. Photo ops pala, please media, get our photos and please disseminate the information to many people as much as possible.
Chinese Study Center.